Hey y'all, Lindsay here, fan Fearless Coaching. And it is the end of April. I can't even believe it. So this is the last video for April. And before we dig into today, I want to just rewind and review a little bit about what's happened this past month with our videos. First of all, I'd like to welcome you to beautiful and green Indiana. I decided to shoot a video out in the woods today. It is glorious out here. And I'm sure you'll see some bugs zooming by, insects zooming by, and hear some birds chirping off in the distance. So we kicked off April with this idea of planting seeds for our future. So the seeds would be the goals or dreams and planting them in our metaphorical soil. So what is it that we want to create moving forward? What do we want to harvest in 4 to 6 months from now or 3 to 4 months from now? But also, what do we want to harvest long term? What is it that we want to create, not only short term in our lives, but long term? And then we've been digging into this idea that, occasionally things can kind of get in the way of us taking inspired action or focusing towards our dreams. And I want to dig into those things and review a little bit. And another one of those things is something that we'll go over today. So the first one I brought up was time is our most valuable resource. So time is really how we create anything else in our lives, how we make anything else happen. So if we tend to squander our time on things that are distracting us or helping us avoid not focusing our time and energy towards what we want to create, then that's how our time can really be squandered. But if we use our time as this incredible resource to build our life, to build our dreams, to create empires, whatever it is that you want to make or create, then really time is our most valuable resource. It's such a huge asset to us. So the next thing we dug into was this idea of playing it small. Where do we play it small in our lives? Due to fear, really. Fear of judgment, fear of not knowing where to start, fear of success, fear of failure, fear of people maybe not wanting what we have to offer, not valuing what we have to offer. So really playing it small can come back to this idea of self-sabotage and fear. Where do we stop ourselves from not going after that dream or goal because of fear? So a big one I want to talk about today, it's very near and dear to my heart, and I am recovering from this, is perfectionism. So throughout my entire life, I personally have been a perfectionist, and I'm working on deprogramming that out of me, but it's taking quite some time and a lot of awareness. So it's my ongoing work and efforts. And I'll tell you a little bit more about my personal story in a minute. But first of all, I wanted to read just really what perfectionism is verbatim. So the need to be or appear perfect, or even believe that it's possible to achieve perfectionism. So really, my first question is, what is perfect? What's perfect to you? Your perfect may look very different than my perfect. So when it comes to perfectionism, do we hold our idea of perfect and are we striving for that? Or are we trying to create what we think are other people's ideas of perfect? And so when we look at it that way, we'll never achieve perfectionism for other people because everyone holds a different idea of what they believe perfect is. And then what about striving for perfectionism in ourselves? So I know as a recovering perfectionism that nothing is ever perfect for me. It can always be tweaked a little bit more, change that angle. Oh, that color's a little off. Oh, that outfit doesn't work. Those accessories aren't perfect with that. Blah, 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 blah. This is the internal chatter that goes on. So ultimately, how do we ever achieve perfectionism for ourselves or for others? So perfect is really unique to the individual. So in our society, oftentimes perfectionism, I feel, and maybe I'm wrong about this, but I feel like it's considered it's a positive trait. It's something that we value in people because when perfectionism is in existence, a lot of times it means that person really values their work. They're going to provide really great work. They're going to work really hard. And there's something so incredibly beautiful and powerful about that. But I want to look at the negative aspects of perfectionism. So oftentimes it can force us to take much more time to execute a task or create something in our lives or do something in our lives because it's not quite perfect. So we're sitting there tweaking, we're tweaking that, we're tweaking that, we're tweaking that, when really our end result is already perfect. It's ready to go out in the world. And oftentimes, after it's out in the world, then we can tweak as we go along. But you can see that by tweaking it, it kind of prevents us from really putting it out there. So let's talk about that in our own lives. Where does perfectionism potentially hold us back in our own lives? And it doesn't hold us back from a relationship that we really want, but we just don't feel like we're quite good enough yet, or we look perfect enough yet, or we're this, that, or the other. What about when it comes to sharing our creative gifts with the world, making videos, playing a musical instrument, sharing that, writing a blog, sharing our photography, whatever it is, our paintings, our artwork? Um, so can really see how perfectionism can get in the way of it. Oh, well, it's not quite perfect yet. I don't want to share. Oh, it's not quite perfect yet. I don't want to put it out. So it tends to help us avoid or prevents us from sharing it with the world. The same with building a business. How many times have you had an idea and you thought, oh my God, that'd be a great business, but I'm not ready for that yet, or it's not quite perfect. I don't want to share it. I don't want to put it out there. So you can see that how years and time can pass. And it's like, oh my gosh, I have all these things I want to share, but still years down the road, they're still not being shared because they're not quite perfect yet. So this is where perfectionism can really hold us back in life, can really prevent us from creating what it is that we want to create. It really prevents us from sharing our soul and potentially our soul's purpose with others. It can really stand in between us and our dreams, us and our goals, us and our purpose. So I would love to share my personal story with that in my own life. For years now, I've had creative ideas and ideas around starting a business or sharing my thoughts with the world, and it's really held me back. And so I've had to make this intentional, this intentional focus to really notice when that perfectionism starts to creep in. Because I've wanted to start a business for 5 years. I've wanted to make videos or blog or share things for years. And I would never do it because I never thought it was ready. I never thought I was ready. I never thought it was ready. And so finally, I had this epiphany aha moment of, oh my God, this is holding me back from my full expression of myself. And, the perfectionism really was stemming from this fear of judgment, this fear of non acceptance by others, this fear of failure, this fear of success. I mean, it was a bottled heap of fears that were really behind it. And of course, they're still there. But via awareness, I'm really taking a step by step to just step into that idea of the fear of failure, step into the idea of the fear of judgment, step towards it and do it anyway. Feel the fear and really do it anyway. So, so I started doing things. I just started doing them. And I think that's the best place is just start. And then as you go along, you can tweak it, you can make it better, you can create it differently. So, this idea that fear can really, or sorry, perfectionism can really, really, really hold us back in our lives. So, I wanted to leave with this quote: the most beautiful things in this world are never perfect. And when I read that, I found that to be so absolutely true. The most beautiful things aren't perfect. Sometimes they're messy, and sometimes they're this and they're that and they're the other. But, imperfectly perfect is the new perfect. just embracing things exactly how they are, embracing yourself exactly how you are, because people love that. They love the genuine nature. Perfection is hard to keep up with. Perfection is hard to connect to and relate to, but being genuinely who you are in the world, now that is relatable. Now that fosters connection. So I urge you, in your life, act of courage, journal about one time in your life where you didn't do something because you felt you weren't ready, because it wasn't perfect, or your gift wasn't perfect, or you didn't look perfect enough for the relationship, or you didn't feel perfect enough for this, that, or the other, or you weren't ready to start the business or share your creative gifts. So journal about one time. And if there's something in your life that you're being held back from, that you want to share with the world, but you don't feel it's perfect, I urge you just to do it. Go for it. Take the leap. All right, y'all. So, Lindsay here, Find Fearless Coaching. I just want to share my services and what I offer with you. As a recovering perfectionist, I would love to offer you support in your overcoming perfectionism journey if you feel the need for support. So, I offer programs and sessions, but first of all, I offer free discovery or strategy sessions. It's a 60-minute session. You can find out more about what I do and decide if it's something that may benefit you or support you in your journey to creating your dreams and really facing your fears, whether those be perfectionism, playing it small, squandering time, whatever that looks like, but really digging into fear that holds us back. So reach out to me, drop a yes in the comments, private message me if you're interested. A free strategy session. We can dig into things and see how we can set you on a trajectory to really creating a life of your dreams. All right, y'all. So much love.